All right. Hello, welcome to the third episode of Deconstructing Data, or so we're temporarily still calling it. More on that in a second, but for now, I'm Jessie Lezak, head of marketing at BDEX, along with our co-host Joshua Morgan, BDEX content marketer extraordinaire, and of course David Finkelstein, BDEX's tech and data guru, but also the co-founder and CEO. Today's guest is David Wellborn, who we call DW internally, who is a hands-on technology leader with over 25 years of experience in enterprise architecture delivery from concept to production. He got the startup bug in 2000 when he became a software development manager at Internet Billing Company, one of the first online credit card payment processors. He has been working at startups, creating high-performance technology teams ever since. In his free time, David can be found playing trumpet in salsa and jazz bands, which I hope to hear a little bit about. But DW, thank you for being here. Would you mind talking to the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you came to be CTO at BDEX?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. This is my first podcast, so I hope it goes well. Like you said, I've been working in startups for the last 22 years. I was working at Farelogix, which is an airline services platform. It was acquired by Excelia last year. I was in charge of BI and data science groups there when David reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in being their new CTO, the BDEX CTO. He got my name from people that I knew from my time at 3C Interactive, where I was chief architect for a number of years. It was at 3CI, oddly enough, that we kind of backed into the whole data sphere and realized the potential of this marketplace. It's basically it.
Oh, I think you're missing one of the most important parts of that, which was the fact that you and I were introduced like 2 or 3 years prior. And I was like, no, I don't have a need for a CTO right now. And then oddly enough, when when we were reintroduced, it was like perfect timing. It was like, hey.
Yeah. Actually, I remember that. We were talking because I was interested in your data platform. We were just starting to like I said, we'd backed into the whole data thing. It's that we were the last mile, if you want to think of it, of a lot of the marketing companies, the marketing arms. The CMO would hire us just to get stuff out. And text messaging was our strength, but we had pipes into all the phone companies, so we could push some real volume and reach people. And we had an interactive, ergo the name, interactive platform so that people could actually answer questions on their phones in text messages using the same short code. It's pretty cool. It's all session based. But we started getting data on people without really trying. And it was they called it second party data, but it was other people's first party data, if you want to think of it that way. We found ourselves more and more enriching our clients' data. And the more we talked about enriching their data, not just reaching out, and sending stuff to people, our relationship with our clients became very rich. It became very close. And we started realizing the real value of what we were doing. The value wasn't being able to send a text message as much as it was to really make sense of the data we were getting as we were doing this. And that was my initial foray into the data space. I ended up calling David Finkelstein, having a long conversation about this because I was inquiring about their platform at the time. And that's how we got connected.
Interesting. Very cool. Well, thank you for that. Josh, hey, we haven't heard from you yet. You want to chime in with any questions for David, for DW, David? We got David and David, so.
That's why they call me DW, as a matter of fact. It's to cut down on the confusion.
I'm just because I dabble in music a little bit myself, and I say dabble lightly because you would probably pay me to stop playing more than pay me to play. But how long have you been playing, and how often do you play?
Oh, I play trumpet. Yeah, she said that already. I've been playing since I was 12, I guess.
Okay.
And I never really stopped. just over time, I ended up gravitating from the classical world to salsa world, and then from there to the Latin jazz world. And then I started bumping into real jazz players, which are really cool. And I've been learning a little bit about that, but I don't consider myself an accomplished jazz player. But they let me sit in sometime, and the people I've been lucky to play with are so good that they make me sound good. I could literally play one note and yeah, it fit,
So you still play? You're still in a band?
Oh yeah. I'm in a salsa band now.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. We play every few months, because of the COVID. There's not that much
Yeah, that's true.
much demand right now. It's a large group. It's like 15 people in it. So
Oh, wow.
it's the old style large salsa band.
I played
That's
jazz band
cool.
in middle school, but that didn't go very far.
I think everyone should play music. Oddly enough, a lot of really really good programmers are musicians,
Really?
and I've discovered that it's a pattern.
Time-based rhythm.
It's a pattern that I've seen, and I use the word as a pun really because it's all about pattern matching. And if you're good at the music, chances are you're very good at pattern matching. It's a
Very
natural talent that you have, and so you're able to match patterns for programming. And in the world of data, you're matching patterns in the data.
So I play piano, but what I'm more excited to tell you guys, I need to share this video with you, but I taught my 3-year-old how to read music. And I have a video of him playing the keys and saying the notes out loud.
Oh,
I'm
that's awesome.
that's like my most proud mom video ever.
Wow.
I know.
Mhm.
I know
So
it's a
as
little
you
Amazing.
off.
heard me
I know it's a
playing,
little.
he's so
Oops, sorry.
determined. No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a little bit off topic, but just like a public service announcement, kind of thing. Is that teaching music to kids nowadays? The benefits are huge, and nowadays they actually have a way of monitoring your brain activity real time. Okay, they didn't used to have this. They can actually see all the things firing in the brain when they're working on a task, and one part of the brain fires up. When they're listening to music, lots of parts fire up. But when they play music, the whole brain lights up. This is absolutely critical for mental development. And so the first thing schools always cut when there's lack of funding is the music program. They're doing the kids a big disservice.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
It's amazing.
that's kind of the big story. Is every year there's new electives being cut. There's new music programs being cut, drama programs being cut, PE programs being cut. So yeah, and it's a shame because some of that that holistic learning where they're actually the electives, especially for some of the kids, are the biggest reason why they want to go to school. Um, and so you're, in some ways, you're removing that incentive for them to want to go to the place that we want them to go to. So it's kind of a shame. But so DW, I got a question for you. We've been batting around some for names for our podcast, and we're down to 5 now. And so I would be curious on your thoughts on of these 5, which one are your favorite? And what we have is we have deconstructing data, and I know that you guys always say data, and I apologize for the tomato kind of thing. And then deconstructing marketing data, cookies and data, data dive with David, and finally cookieless data decisions. And so, of those, which one does your heart fall upon?
I like the first one. I like the one is the temporary name. It's
Mhm.
deconstructing data, and I think it's appropriate because without giving away too much, one of the secrets of our platform is this ability to deconstruct data. Okay, and
Mhm.
the other half of that coin is being able to construct it again. Okay, so this way we're able to absorb data from multiple sources that are very different. Okay, but we're able to put these together in a way where we can actually extract value from it and resell parts of it in a cohesive way, in a coherent way, which is key. some platforms will actually take data from X and say, we have data to sell from X, and here you are. Or then they'll have Y, and they'll say, well, you also can sell Y. Okay, well, I want actually where Y and X and Y intersect with this little flavor to it. And they're like, can't do that. But we can. As a matter of fact, that's how we do everything. Everything goes into this a sliceable machine, and then it gets pieced back together as needed. So I like deconstructing data for that reason.
Well, I think that was David's. David, that was your baby, right? That's the one that you came up with, correct?
I think so. Yep.
It sure is. It's a good one. I
It's
agree.
a good one.
I like it too.
Yeah, and I think last week when we were going over this, I think we all agreed that it was it was kind of a cool name. Just the kind of the deconstruction. That word deconstruction is like it's a very vivid name, and it really kind of makes you stop. It's very powerful, and so I love it.
Yeah, like DW said, it talks a lot about what we do from a business perspective, but it's also what we're doing here in this conversation as well, and so that's I think that's why it's fitting.
Yep.
All right, and so then after we release the podcast, we'll kind of ask their listeners for input on that too. But DW, you kind of bring a technical aspect that we want our listeners to hear. And so, in your own words, what is a deterministic identity resolution? What is it, and why is it disrupting the industry?
Well, deterministic, that is using known quantities, basically. You're not guessing, not assuming, okay? Deterministic, like for instance, if you show me your ID and it says Josh on there, and I see your picture, that's an example of deterministic data. Okay, so I don't have any doubt that that's who you are. If I saw a book bag of yours with the letter J on it, okay, and I said, well, his name might be Josh, that's probabilistic. That's not very accurate. I might be right some of the time. Unfortunately, in the industry, being right some of the time is okay with some people, with some of the platforms. And they say, well, we'll make it up in volume. Let's not worry about it. So we end up with less than stellar quality as a result. Over 2 years ago, we decided to focus on quality at the cost of volume. And that was one of the things that we do it now is a deterministic identity resolution. We don't try and guess who you are. We get a bunch of facts together, we link them together. Okay, so this linking, a lot of people call a graph. Really, it's a bunch of stuff that you connect. But if each one of those points is something that you know for a fact, if this and this and this, well, you learn more about that person. Okay, we depend pretty much 100% on a deterministic identity resolution. We don't try and guess who you are.
That's great. And that sort of, you answered my question, which was why is probabilistic not the way to go? And does it lead to bad data or wrong conclusions? But
Yeah.
You've already got into that. Anything? Yeah. Can you add any more?
Oh, yeah. Just a little, the example that I gave was very quotidian, but it in the industry, it's very common to use an IP address, for instance, in a browser user agent. And that together, that's who you are, They don't really know who you are. They just know that they've seen the signal before together. And so they figure, well, this goes together, Well, not really. If you're in a Starbucks and they have a concentrator there for their Wi-Fi, everyone's going to have the same IP address. Are they all the same people? Everyone with the latest version of Mac, will have the same user agent. Is that the same person too? So a lot of the probabilistic stuff that's done is really not much more than a set of heuristics or rules saying that if you see this, then just assume. stuff. So really, there's a lot of assuming going on. There's a data company that assumes that I live in Arizona, for instance, and I'm pretty sure I don't. Because I got told, that my address is over in Arizona, just because the guy has the same last name that I do. It's not very deterministic, is it?
Great point. So, well, let's switch gears, DW, and talk a little bit about machine learning and advertising and how we're able to take someone's customer data and find more ideal customers like their existing customer with machine learning. And this is something we're talking about with all of the team members. So, we're really hoping you'll bring your unique perspective as CTO of, what goes on behind the scenes in order to create custom audiences based on a small sample of customer data, or, also known as seed data.
The customer, the customer-owned data is essentially first-party data. I mean, these are people that our client has interacted with and done sales with, or maybe not done sales with, and knows that also. This guy bought, this guy didn't. So that's a small sample. Sometimes there'll be like 1,000, 10,000 people that they've interacted with. They're like, well, that's not enough to do any meaningful data science on. Well, we can actually glean a lot of information from that. In order to do this, you need data that's organized around consumers. Okay, you can't just grab wild data out there and just throw it into this machine learning magic black box and just it's telling me these weird results. We should just believe it. Machine learning is a tool like anything else. You have garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So you have to start off with really clean quality data, and then it's got to be organized in a way that helps the modeling. Okay, and we've done that at BDEX, and so it's easy for us to do what people call lookalike audiences. So out of your 10,000, we can say, okay, let's model their behavior based on what we know about them already. Okay, and then we can say, well, based on this, we have 500,000 more in our database that fits that same profile, and there's a very high probability of you doing a conversion if you were to reach out to them.
Good stuff. Anyone else have anything to add?
I don't know who could add to what DW's saying there. I mean,
I know,
but
right?
I think what's interesting about it is what he just described. I guess the best thing to say is that what he just described is exactly what we fits the title perfectly, right? Deconstructing data. So,
yep.
And how accurate can we get using that machine learning?
Well, yeah, this is a funny response because people like to hear, "Oh, we can get 100%." Well, that's not really true. It's because of the nature of the modeling machine. Basically, you can. It's good to be 75%. Let's say that's a very good result. All right, a 75% accuracy. Well, why wouldn't you want more? Well, the value of the model actually starts going down if you overfit. So you have things too fit. Well, then you start to overlook the consumers that would have also bought, just because you were fixated on the fact that they don't walk around with World War II helmets on their head. It just happened to work out that's what the model decided. If you overfit, you get these weird fixations. On attributes that may not be that important. So you want to design it so it's in that ballpark. 75%, 80% around there. You don't want to overfit.
Okay. I mean, that's.
I think I remember us doing a model once for a client, and we found that a really high percentage of their customers, the seed itself that they gave us, owned vehicles makes by Toyota, Honda, and Suzuki. And so they were like, "Oh, let's just go after those people. Let's just go after people that just own Toyotas, Hondas, and Suzukis." And I think that the thought process there was that would make it like 100% accurate, but to DW's point, it doesn't, because that was likely just an anomaly of that sample. And so that if we focus too much on just those data points, then we'd be eliminating a lot of potential customers for them. And it wasn't a vehicle that, this wasn't a car manufacturer that we were going after here. It was actually some e-commerce website or something like that. So, that's a sort of an example of what DW is saying there, is that, you can overfit the model to try to get 100% match to your seed, but that's not necessarily mean that you're going to, reach all the potential, customers that you're trying to reach.
You have to have a common sense, when you do these things too, because sometimes just because mathematically something will come out and you'll be like, well, that doesn't make sense. You have to look into it. I'm always reminded of the story of the British Army and when they started using helmets in the First World War. They started off the First World War without helmets. Can you believe it? And they're like, well, I think they should have helmets. They designed helmets. At the same time, they started applying statistics to everything in the Army for efficiency, And so they had this stat that the more helmets were used, the more head wounds went up. And everyone said, oh my gosh, there's a strong correlation between use of helmets and head wounds going up. Let's stop using them. Right? And well, that would have been the wrong decision, because what was happening was that people were surviving headshots. And so that's why they were having head wounds where they never went to the hospital before. I'm sorry, it's a little grim, but it's a very good example of statistics and, blind application of math, is dangerous. You always have to have a person with common sense looking at the results,
All right. And that was, grim as it may be, that's a great example of how, misinterpreting the data could lead to like really bad decisions, such as, okay, let's just not wear helmets now. It's like, this is the wrong conclusion to come with. But so I got a big question for you. And what do you think is the most important thing for our listeners to know about data and marketing now? And where do you see it heading?
Most important thing to know about data.
Data and marketing, I think.
The data and marketing. Well, data used by marketing, is not evil. I would say, a lot of people think it's evil, but I think what's happened is that people have gotten turned off by all the garbage they receive in their emails, and they bought something online, and then for 6 months they're still getting ads for that same thing. Matter of fact, on one page it has spots for 6 ads. All 6 of them are that one item. It's like, really, it's not very sophisticated. So the properly done, the consumer benefits from this activity, being exposed to things that they might want or need. But I guess it goes down to quality. I would say demand quality. When not just the consumers, but also clients. People who buy data from us or anybody else like us demand quality and measure results. A lot of times they'll just spray and pray. Okay, look, we bought so much. Here's our budget. Okay, how'd it go? I think good. Not sure. They don't know. So you got to build in measurement mechanisms for what you buy. You have to be able to say it was good or bad. And I know I'm putting ourselves under that microscope by saying this, but we voluntarily put ourselves under that a microscope 2 years ago, and we've actually seen positive returns because of focusing on the quality. It's had a domino effect up the line and down the line. So I would say, start pressuring, start applying that same pressure. That's what I would tell them.
Yeah, I told this story last time, but I got in the mail not too long ago about women's skiing gear and attire, and obviously, um, I'm not a woman, and I've never been skiing, at least snow skiing, never been snow skiing in my life, nor do I have the urge. I love water skiing, but do not have the urge to go snow skiing. And then my neighbors, who are also not women and have never been snow skiing. So, like, this mass mailer went out, and I'm just wondering, like, how, like, where did the data come from that said this was a good idea to like just spray this information, and how much money was wasted on this? That is, it's going to the wrong target audience.
You put your
Completely.
finger right on it. How much money was wasted? Okay, so they think it's a numbers game. You send 1 million of them out there, and so many will buy. But there's a hidden cost to all this. On top of the explicit cost, there's a hidden cost, and it's to your brand. Right? People don't worry about that, and properly targeted ad campaigns and interaction campaigns, marketing campaigns can be very, very lucrative for everybody involved. Okay, that's another thing that we learned at 3CI and has been proven time and time again was it's not just a numbers game. Like, who can I get to send this stuff out cheaper? Who can I get to send this out in a more targeted and effective manner? And in that case, you're actually willing to pay double, triple what you normally pay if you know you're going to get a sale out of it, right? So it's about serving the consumer. No matter how you cut this, slice this, it's all about serving the a consumer. And people who don't lose sight of that do well. So we're actually, everybody in the whole chain is here to serve the consumer. And the better you do that, the better it is for everybody.
Okay.
Absolutely. Respect your audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything in particular that you think this podcast should cover that would, help empower our audience?
Find out who's using your data.
Mm.
I could see in the future the capability of people to actually opt in and manage their exposure to marketers. And it's something like a controllee, would be very valuable in this regard. So I can see that being a wave of the future.
What about with marketers and advertisers? What would be your advice to them?
Everything I said in this podcast: quality, quality, quality. Serve the consumer. Don't just be about maximizing your numbers for your a quarterly bonus. You got to think big picture. You got to think about how's this impacting the brand. It's the bottom line is that people have to feel good about your brand name. And if you're abusing channels in order to get that 0.5% more for this quarter, at what cost? Of future revenue. Successful companies tend to look at the lifetime value of a consumer, which is a lot larger than that next sale. That amount is a lot of value versus just getting to buy that one next thing. So if you turn them off and they don't come back, you've lost a whole lot more than you think you won.
Great point.
Excellent point. Absolutely.
Well, Anything else anyone else wants to add before we wrap up? I want to thank DW for being here, of course. It was a last minute thing, so thanks for making it happen.
No, it's my pleasure. Hopefully, what I said makes sense.
Oh, 100%. We're going to be studying this transcript for weeks to come. But in closing, we would love to get input from the listeners about what or who you would like to hear on BDEX's new podcast. What questions do you have that we should answer in our upcoming series that focuses on data trends in advertising and marketing, and also around identity, machine learning, data privacy, and the future of data in marketing? Also, are there any guests you would like to suggest we interview? Please let us know. Share your qualitative feedback with us so we can make this show better for you.
Yeah, we would like to definitely thank you again, all the listeners, all the viewers, and please share any and all feedback in the comments whenever you're listening to info@bdex.com.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.